president of the moral Republican Council, the fifth power of Venezuela, and general prosecutor of the public ministry of the nation. Those are data which is very briefly said to us with a state of with a scientific capability that in a record time managed to reestablish the peace and calmness, and also identify the responsible material and intellectually in a joint way captured the fascism paid and stimulated through the social network is the timely justice, direct and brave. Because all these attacks' objectives is to intimidate to the society and establish a terror state. Another opportunity happened already against the brave President Salvador Allende. They were establishing a terror state, and they ended up on 11th of September at 11 a.m. bombing in a coward way with warplanes where he was located, only with a and a helmet, but they were already making the work of threatening the work class and the communities, and to prosecute and to capture and fill the stadiums of football stadiums with thousands and thousands of social leaders, popular politics. There was Victor Jara, and the fascism not only captured him but shot at him and cut his finger, he cut his hand, they cut his tongue. Crimes that only remember the ones committed in the time of colonization and conquer, when they used to dismember to our big indigenous chief Huaycaipuro, when they dismembered to Bartolina Siso. Those are colonialism crime, the fascism crime that was willing to erase from the face of earth the progressive projects, the reaction of the oligarchy and the right of Chile facing the surge of a beautiful project like the one of Salvador Allende was the same of Europe and the United States, and from the socialism was brutal. And precisely they murder and make a coup d'etat on September 11, 1973, with the president Salvador Allende was summoned for a referendum, precisely to avoid the referendum. After accusing him during months to the President Allende of fraud, alleged fraud in the parliamentary elections, that managed to have a representation in the Senate and the deputy chamber that was stopping his destitution as president, stopping the right for the votes in Chile. Those are things in the history that is being forgotten and want to remember. And there is after a national international campaign saying that the President Allende committed fraud, and a destabilization campaign through the newspaper, Mercurio, the radio, the television of the time. Is this the history? Venezuela is vaccinated and has immunity against the fascism. And one of the strongest immunities is the justice to achieve the peace. More than 96% of the Venezuelans support the peace. More than 78 support that severe justice is performed. The manifestation of criminals drugged and convicted and confessed are political prisoners continue. The spear point, CNN, AP, AFP, the spear point of the social network in the hands of the technology imperialism. But in front of that, the truth of Venezuela, the bravery of the republic is imposed from the institutions of the union, the Republican Union of the institution, and the union of the people. The fascism put the criminal face into the light, but the fascism in Venezuela has to be healed. I've been talking about healing the society. Not all the ones who voted for any reason for the fascism are agreeing with the violence and crime of the country. They could have seen that behind of the deceit and the liar offer was a violent and assault of the power at the time. And why they could see it? Because we stand still, because we don't let us blackmail, because we don't have fear, because we're not coward. We weren't born the coward's day, because we are standing in bravery, because we're not going to surrender our country to imperialism. We're not going to give the wealthy of our homeland to the imperialism. We're not going to surrender to this oligarchy, the political power in this country. We're not going to surrender, and we're not going to treason our people. This is not treason time. The treason gives a lot of strikes in the back to the liberator, to Zamora, to our own commander Chavez. What was 11 and 12? April 12, the deadliest strike of treason, but they couldn't either. Where are the intellectual author of this violence? Where are the ones who put in the funds in this violence? Where are the ones who are planning? Where are they? Where are the ones that have been called to the violence and then try to... Where is Edmundo González Urrutia? What is hiding? Why is running? Why is fear? Why is not presenting himself? Where is the greatest face of Mrs. Machado, who's sent to kill the murder and prepared criminal groups and believe that because of the support of Elon Musk is going to be in the political power in the country? They hire, they deceive, they pervert, and they launch the violence, and then they abandon. It's the first time that they launch the violence to a group of people, and then they abandon it. They abandoned all of them. Those are to his luck. To assume his responsibility. The material author has to assume their responsibility. If it is in my constitutional functions as a head of state and head of government and president of Venezuela, I demand to all the powers of the state the highest severity, the highest offense in an iron fist, facing the crime and the violence and the hatred. Iron fist and justice, severe justice, such justice to make a value for the constitutional principles, and the society will heal and will wake the ones who've been deceived by the fascism. And I'm certain that they want only peace and tranquility. How many people was threatened, Mr. Prosecutor? Not only the threatened ones, but how many military families were threatened and blackmailed? Your wives, daughters, sons, how many were prosecuted? Yourselves. How many families of the police forces were threatened? How many leaders and representatives of communities were threatened? There's two multi-women murdered by the hatred crimes, by the armed groups. One in Turmeno, murdered by hatred militants of the comanditos. They were found in record time and professional way, and they're captured. Left to capture another one. At the same time, we need to capture the rest of the murder of a noble woman who managed to assault to the power. Or I ask, if they have managed to prolong this violence 1 week, 15 days, how many deaths we will have? Thousands, like in Indonesia? And if they managed to assault the Miraflores Palace and the political power, how many deaths? That's when I'm speaking about the bloodbath. I denounce it in time. They, with their hatred and their fascism, they wanted a bloodbath, and we stop it. Because we are the guarantee of the peace, the harmony, the tranquility, and the constitutionality. So, justice has to prevail, and the intellectual authors and the economical author must go to jail, and they have to pay. This time it cannot be impunity. No to the impunity. And then we will go to a process of hatred sanctions in a prolonged and intense way. How many sportsmen and women was blackmailed to make a statement? I have hundreds of messages of sportsmen and women, athletes, football players, baseball players that were saying, or they were being blackmailed, saying that if you don't make a message, we're going after you. How many influencers of the country, how many of the influencers that are outside of the country that were left in the trend of speak badly about Venezuela, they sent it to the hatred. How many from the United States called to kill the president of Venezuela and their main leaders? It's not a crime in the United States, in Chile, in Peru, and Colombia, sent to kill to head of states of leader of another country. How many influencers? A lot of them are regretted now with the method of Pablo Escobar. Do you know what this method? Money or bullets. Or you accept this money and you pronunciate against Venezuela, or we'll give you the bullets. How many singers and artists, one by one, they were called, and they know. I know. We know. To all of them, from all genders that are living in Venezuela and outside of it, one by one. It is or not a fascist operation. We know this already. We faced it in 2014, 2017. Even we forgot it when in the Grammys were showing the turn flag backwards, and the most famous artist, SOS Venezuela, now intervention, the Oscars, Grammy, and all the awards of the world in Viña del Mar. That was a fashion, a lot of bills, because they believe the Venezuelan people eats with the artists. We don't eat blackmail. The ones who go to the face and will see it going back. It's not the first time. The ones that went with the face and to speak against this country and to speak hatred and intervention against Venezuela, we will see it get back. You will see it. So we have to fascism, the far right of Venezuela, and that's a task for us, because the opposition leader, in a good way, in a good measure, is surrendered to the fascism. happened in Italy, in Germany, in Europe 100 years ago. The social and democratic leader or a coward left in Europe, surrendered to the fear and the blackmail and the pressure. They couldn't stand the pressure, Ivan Hill. They couldn't stand the pressure, and if fascism happened, it was because of them. And swipe it down from the history, because within the time you remember the braves, but the cowards of that time no one remembers. So justice. We thank the General Prosecutor for this report. Surely we will have more detailed report through this communication media. A lot of important things, Mr. Ambassador, in the system of the United Nations, to make it known to the governments where we have relationships to all levels. And the General Prosecutor wish to be in this position of a communicational effort. I'm going to give the word